Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie, is deeply strange and off-putting, and Sonic the Hedgehog is a bootlicker.
Sonic the Hedgehog. A lovable fact. I'm not explaining Sonic the Hedgehog. You know what Sonic the Hedgehog is. No, I'm here to talk about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. No, I saw this movie because my friend bought us tickets to go see Sonic 2 in the theaters, but then 3 hours beforehand he cancelled, and then the theater we were gonna go to got shot up. So I haven't seen Sonic 2. Now, if you have watched this movie and don't remember much of it, I can't say I blame you, because this absolute goo of a movie drips out of your thought goo as soon as it's over. But I took notes, and now I get to inflict my cursed knowledge upon you. So what happens in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie?
Part 1, catching you up to speed.
Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie, aka the end result of capitalist innovation, tells the story of Sonic the Hedgehog, who apparently is the son of an owl and also an alien, and he runs from a bunch of people that look like Idris Elba, and he comes to Earth. Sonic Hedgehog then steals my weekend plans by spending a decade in a hole outside of Green Hills, Montana, a green hilly town with nothing interesting about it. Among the inhabitants, we have a cop who gets easily scared of things, a bunch of people who barely share a personality between them, and Tim, a guy so boring and generic, I'm not entirely sure I got his name right in the script. Tom then shoots Sonic Horgdog, paralyzing him from the waist down, and due to his immense guilt, decides to drive him all the way to San Francisco while chased by the super quirky Dr. Robotnik who loves putting things in his mouth. Yay! After many shenanigans, exploits, and a lot of sexual tension, Tram and Sonic the Hedge Fund arrive in San Francisco, banish Jim Carrey to a bad mushroom trip, and save the day just in time to tease Sonic the Hedgehog to— Why? Is this what we canceled all those Guillermo del Toro projects for? Stop! Stop! Tom and his veterinarian fiancé/wife then spend the rest of their time sheltering a wonder of magic and science that could revolutionize the way we travel and lying to the FBI. One of those things is good. Am I forgetting something? Oh yeah, Tim's a cop!
Part 2, playing fast and loose with police.
This movie's bad. It's a catastrophic kind of bad. The kind of bad that leaves you with 10 questions per every answer. A very rare and exciting ratio. But at the top of the list of questions still remains, why is he a cop? It feels like such a loaded decision to make your main character a cop in 2020. And I know this movie came out in January, but still. You can hear a car's thingy outside. Shut up! It just makes the whole film so weird. Like, why is the anarchist icon, Skanky the Hoverboard, hanging out with Twom, a cop? And he doesn't just hang out with him. No. He idolizes him. And it's weird.
My favorite person is the Donut Lord. Protector of this town, and defender of all creatures big and small.
The placing of Tim, the cop, within the narrative complicates things. It makes a lot of things that could have otherwise passed as unremarkable, if slightly problematic, so much weirder. And so much of the plot necessitates actions on the part of Tim, like misappropriation of police equipment for personal purposes, the use of his wife's tranquilizer dart without a proper permit, using his badge in order to get into areas that he has absolutely no allowance or clearance to get into, and most distressingly, this line.
Time for me to abuse the power entrusted to me.
Through Tim's placement in the story as a main character, the movie endorses his behavior. His actions are presented to be either cool or ultimately for the greater good, and all the characters who question Tom are presented as either wrong or deranged. Dude ends up as a wanted fugitive, ties his fiance's sister to a chair, and just leaves. And it's cool.
I have to go to the bathroom.
She needs to pee! So many moments in the movie could have passed as vaguely questionable behavior or simply innocent jokes. But he's a cop! There's a very different kind of scrutiny that needs to be applied to someone who is a cop. And through this decision, the movie tips its hand, it reveals its ideology, and something that otherwise would have been subtextual becomes textual. Sonic is a libertarian.
Part 3, dropping your ideology in record time! The original...
The original Sonic games, for all their faults and general lack of quality, had a pretty simple and good message. Evil megacorporations bad. Absconding with all the little critters he found within the metal orb good. In contrast, Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie, feels like an American libertarian's weird read of Sonic the Hedgehog, where Sonic just happens to be setting up his own evil megacorporation off-screen. This is conflicting because of Cinco de Mayhog's well-documented ties to anarchist aesthetics. Like, he wasn't gonna hang up a hammer and sickle or anything, but he would definitely vote Bernie. At first glance, Sonic from the movie is following a similar trajectory. He wants freedom and independence. He likes them and thinks they're good. Yay! More goo for my thought goo! However, the fact that Tim is a cop encourages a closer read of the movie. One which illuminates Sonic's weird, subtle ideology shift, which permeates every other part of this Olive Garden ad. You see, Sonic doesn't care about people anymore. Like, he doesn't save critters. He doesn't want to stop Robotnik because Robotnik is being evil and egg-like. No, he just wants his rings. Sonic, through his actions and his goals, is now an individualist, which is American for fuck you, got mine. Sonic is no longer a hero. He no longer does good. He just does whatever he thinks will entertain him or help him. He shoots a taxidermy eagle into some bar dweller's anal cavity at high speed, probably crippling him for life and destroying his rectum. Beyond Sonic's actions and the way he treats others, this weird libertarian ideology also manifests itself in the dialogue of the movie. There's a bunch of small examples of this, but I'd like to give you two that I think best exemplify what I mean. When Sing Song and Tim Tom question how Robotnik gets the money to build all his machines, Robotnik replies, "Ever wonder where your tax dollars are going?" insinuating that not only are taxes misused, they are also unfairly taken. Which is a really fucking weird point to be made by the Sonic the Hedgehog goo. And of course, there's the aforementioned...
Time for me to abuse the power entrusted to me.
He's a police officer! What? Like seriously, what the fuck? He's just a private cop for this anarcho-capitalist arena scene! Also, at some point, Tom and his veterinarian fiancé fall through a wormhole into a barn, and the farmer comes up to them and he's like, "Ah, Tom, you're just in time. Old Bessie's about to give birth." And like, he has a vet right there, and he addresses her himbo cop boyfriend. I didn't know where to put this, but it felt like it fit here.
Part 4, running to conclusions.
Through its dialogue, story, characters, and the fact that there are absolutely no repercussions for anything Tom does, including participating in a violent bar brawl where a man breaks his neck, Sonic the Hedgehog the movie further reinforces the tacit unilateral acceptance of whatever cops do as ultimately justified. On further inspection, you might say, how did this happen? And the answer is simple. Passionate people made a movie and did not take the time to consider the assumptions and suppositions that they had within their narrative. They've taken Sonic the Hedgehog, a character whose entire ethos was built upon anti-establishment gratitude, and turned him into a libertarian bootlicker. That's it. Or that would be it if the movie wasn't also technically incompetent! Part 5. The slow-mo sequences are travesties. There's no speed puns. I'm mad! Sonic the Hedgehog the movie, of course, has a scene where Sonic moves so fast that everything around him slows down. Two, actually, and they're both heavily inspired by the Quicksilver scene from the X-Men goo, X-Men Days of Future Past. And they're also both not good. The first is the mass assault carried out by a police officer and his weird little friend in a small town bar. This scene is actually not terrible in concept. It presents the audience with this Rube Goldberg-esque time slow where a bunch of different elements are all set up before being set off at once, including the aforementioned assault with stuffed Halietis. The issue is that 90% of what happens once time resumes is people falling down in a variety of ways, and it's not interesting, and it's not shot in an interesting way because they didn't construct the proper space for it. The Quicksilver scene very purposefully took place in a cylindrical room, allowing for amazing maneuvers with the camera and constant reincorporation of elements through circular movement along the walls of the room. The Sonic scene takes place in a box. A not very interesting one at that. That was fine. The second slow-mo scene is the one that broke me. It was the equivalent of inviting a bunch of people to your birthday party and then no one comes and you're super sad, but then you're so excited for next year's party and then, again, nobody comes and also this time your parents flaked. I'm fine. The scene starts, a cool song is playing, I'm pumped, let's do this, and then it's not synced. They didn't plan anything. They didn't consider how the music would play into the scene. They just put a song in there. And the dissonance between the pacing of the song and the pacing of the visuals completely ruins the entire scene. This movie is not soulless. Although it is broken, there is passion leaking through the cracks. But that passion was not worth overworking animators, shutting down their studios, and justifying online gamer rage. Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie, is deeply incompetent and philosophically strange and off-putting. Sonic the Hedgehog, is a bootlicker. I'm done! Another one in the bag, another classic, another banger! Yeah! I'm gonna go put on socks because I don't want the internet to see my feet. I don't trust you. I don't trust any of you. Stay away from me. But consume my content. Sonic the Hat. This Sonic. Evil mega corporations good. Sheltering of my nose itches. My nose. Dropping your ideology record time! Okay, final one without swearing.